What's up, everyone, and welcome to the episode of the Digital and Social Media Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Neil Horwitz. You can find me on Twitter and J287, also on LinkedIn, where I post more content. The website is dsmsports.net, where you can find everything. And of course, the podcast you can find always available on your preferred podcast platform. I am so excited for today's show. This conversation was tremendous. I had high hopes for it, and it delivered, over delivered. My guest on the podcast today is Paige Price. She is a social media creator for the Washington Spirit. Just a great opportunity to connect with her, talk about her role with the Spirit and how she's really gotten to know the players and gotten their trust to be able to create some really fun and oftentimes viral content with the Spirit. They do a great job across the platforms, that all the platforms, but the ones that she will focus on most closely, YouTube, TikTok, among others as well. We talk about the Trinity Rodman signing, which was very big news in the world of women's soccer, just really soccer and sports around the world, with Trinity Rodman signing. Really cool to hear how that came together. Just really awesome stuff. Just great insight into what it's like to have that role today, and all the things she does for the Spirit. So listen up. Here she is, Paige Price, social media creator for the Washington Spirit. I am back on the podcast with today's guest. I'm so psyched to be speaking with her. We were just joking that we could have been recording this whole time, that we've been catching up, because she is full of insight and energy and enthusiasm and does such a great job in her role. My guest on the podcast today is Paige Price. She is the social media creator for the Washington Spirit. And welcome to the podcast today, Paige.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
So psyched to pick your brain. I've been following the Spirit for a while, not just because they made a run to the championship game last year, but and have a superstar player, been all over the headlines recently, and you've been a big part of it. But the content's just great. And I think you can say that for a lot of NWSL clubs, but the ability to get personality out of the players, tell stories, develop fans, you guys do such a great job there. And so psyched to pick your brain today. And before we get in the meat of our discussion on the page, tell us about you. Tell us about your career path, your stops along the way into getting what your role is today.
Yeah, of course. Well, I'm originally from kind of your neck of the woods, just a little bit, 2 hours north of you. I'm from Long Beach, California, originally. We moved to Houston, Texas when I was in high school, around 14, 15. And I grew up within a family of people who attended HBCUs for for college. And so I always knew that I was going to an HBCU, and I ended up at Hampton University in Virginia. And I played soccer for a couple of years there, which was really cool. It was always a goal of mine to play soccer in college. And to be able to play for an HBCU as well was just a cherry on the top. So um, from there, I knew I wanted to do some sort of sports marketing, sports journalism. I wasn't totally sure. And I actually went into school undecided just because I didn't realize that there was a sports management major at Hampton. And once I found out, I got on campus and I went to the registrar immediately and took care of that. So um, I majored in sports management, and I kind of the way that I went about my studies was that I wanted to learn about anything that I was interested in, whether it was becoming an agent or working in college administration or marketing, sales, sports nutrition, anything.
Yeah.
I wanted to make sure that I had that, base level knowledge before picking something that I inevitably love to do, but also having in the back of my mind that I had that base knowledge around the other sectors of sports so that I understood the processes that would happen
Mhm.
throughout my career. So that was just kind of how that I went around my education. And then as far as internships and things went, I was briefly an intern at the Norfolk Tides. I was in community relations, and then COVID hit. I graduated in 2020, so that was
Wow.
interesting.
Yeah.
It was like we were all there. We don't need to get into it, but it was very interesting. And one of the first things that came to mind was like, I don't want to become complacent because of where we were at in society, because of, there was a halt on jobs in the sports industry
Yeah.
and a lot of different industries. I wanted to make sure that I was putting my best foot forward to make sure that I am doing everything that I can to accomplish this goal of mine, which is to work in the sports industry. So that was joining networking panels. And one that I did one with Endeavor. I did one with Harris Blitzer Sports and Entertainment over there in Philly, um, Philly, New Jersey, I should say. Um, the New Orleans Pelicans and the Saints. I didn't have any limits, and I was cold emailing people my resume and asking for tips and what I can do to change it and um, make myself a suitable candidate on paper. And I ended up getting an internship at Georgetown University, which I ended up getting my master's at. I deferred for a year. So during that deferment, I was a marketing intern for Georgetown Athletics um, remotely in Texas at my parents' house.
Wow.
Um, so yeah, and my supervisor, we still speak to this day, and he always stressed to us how unique this opportunity was for us because in a normal world, we would be in person and bouncing ideas off of each other and getting that hands-on experience, but it wasn't the case. So a lot of it was sports social media marketing. That's what we were kind of limited to. There were people on the team that lived in the DMV area, so they were able to get out to some games and help out and do some hands-on things. Those of us that weren't were at home doing what we could and getting into graphic design and learning some video production and learning how to schedule posts on Meta Business Suite and things of that nature. And so that was kind of my first taste of social media marketing and where it could take me. And then and when I moved to DC and I started my schooling at Georgetown, I was, interning with the Spirit as a sales intern just to help make some extra money, but also help me with networking. And, a lot of people say you do it to get your foot in the door. It wasn't really like that for me. I wanted to be around it and I wanted to, um, you know, I loved soccer. So it was something I
Yeah.
wanted to be around and I wanted to be a part of it. So that was it for me. And um, while I continued to do that through my schooling and other internships with the Capital City Go Go and the Maryland State Golf Association, which were all sort of surrounding content. The Maryland State Golf Association, I was also helping out with social media. That's what they hired me to really help them do.
Mhm.
But I was also doing a lot of administrative things and like setting up the golf course and taking it down and helping, with some rulings on certain occasions. And I played golf growing up too, so that was really cool for me to see and kind of understand what all goes into hosting a golf tournament. Um, and yeah, from there I went to the Capital City Go Go's, the G League team out here in DC, and that was my first kind of like big girl role where I had creative control of I was essentially a social media manager as an intern.
Yeah.
Um, so it was so cool. And the first time that I really had, player interactions and um it was so much fun and I got to bring their personality out and get to know them as much as I could, obviously never um interrupting their schedules as
Right.
athletes. But question of the days were huge, and they loved it. And I even started doing to kind of ease my nervousness with them, just because some of these players will go on to the league and be great in the league. So I'm also, it may not seem so, but I also do tend to be a little bit more introverted. So I was just a little bit shy. So to help ease that and bridge that gap, I started playing rock, paper, scissors with them on their way in for game days. I didn't record them because it was just kind of like our thing at first.
Yeah.
But then I inevitably did start to record them and people started to love it. And, they always loved it. And I was keeping score and all of that. And it really helped with getting to know them and bringing out their personality and their competitive nature and getting people to see the side of them that they don't see on the court.
Yeah.
And then from there I went to Octagon, where the experience was a little bit different. It wasn't face to face with players, but I
Mhm.
was content creating every single day. And for some pretty big names too. Emmett Smith was somebody that I made a
Wow.
lot of things and created a lot of content plans for. So that was really cool.
Yeah.
Especially as a Cowboys fan, I was really, really happy about that. I was really excited for that.
Oh yeah.
Julio Rodriguez for
Wow.
Seattle Mariners.
Yeah.
I did a couple things with Annalise Waters. She's big in pickleball.
Right.
Um, yeah, those are just a few clients. I'm sure I'm forgetting some, but just a lot of clients that on an as needed basis I'd worked with. But I worked with Emmett and Julio a lot. Um, and then, they kept me for as long as they could. I was technically an intern there as well. And they kept me the whole 9 months. And they were so helpful with, just lending an ear and, their resources to try to help me get a full-time job in the industry. And
Mm.
uh, the job with the Spirit opened up as soon as, I was informed that, I had to move on. And um, it just was all very serendipitous, to be honest with you. The same position that I have, I had applied for 2 years prior, but they
Wow.
ended up not filling that role. They just, hired a freelancer to help them out throughout the season, but um, this time it was for real. And I found out later on after I got the job that I was on a short list. It was a very short list in
Wow.
23 and also in 24. So the one thing that I think really helped me out was that I was already local and I was already had connections with the Spirit, and I was willing to kind of give myself a tryout. So I was available for their first 2 games, and I just kind of pitched myself. I was like, if you guys need any help,
Yeah.
in your first 2 games, let me know. And so they let me freelance those first 2 games, and I think that really helped solidify my job. And now we're here.
I absolutely love it. So, how much like as you went along in growing your career and developing your career, like did you kind of have to figure out, okay, what skills do I need to work on, what gaps do I need to fill in? Because until you got to the Spirit, like yes, you were doing social and you were doing content with Capital City and with Octagon a little bit. At what point did you think that okay, like this content path, this social path is where I'm gonna go, and therefore let me get really good at this? Or were you still thinking like, well, maybe I'm going this direction, maybe I'm going this direction? Or when did you kind of make that call of like, this is where my career is going to be headed right now?
I think that that decision really solidified itself for me when I was at the go go. I
Mm.
think having basically all creative control, like I said, I was an intern, but my manager at the time had left his position, and that position remained vacant for the rest of the season for the
Yeah.
most. So I had a lot of creative control, and I, was doing some graphic work, some graphic design work, and you know, I had a certain look and feel that I wanted for our platforms and um, a way about doing things. And, I wasn't doing photography or anything. I was doing mostly vertical content and,
Mm.
um, you know, scheduling and publishing. But it really, I had so much fun. I think that's
Yeah.
really what solidified it for me. I was just having so much fun. And like I said, just the ability to be able to not only be creative every day, but showcase the players at the organization, but and also highlight the organization as a whole.
Yeah.
Uh, we experienced a lot of growth on social media from the hands of me, our video producer. Um, Her name's Allie. She's with the women's basketball league that's going on right now. I forgot what
Okay.
it's.
Unrivaled.
Yeah, Unrivaled. She's at Unrivaled now, and Freddie, our photographer, at the time, working alongside them was great, and
Yeah.
we really had a solid team and foundation going on. And
Yeah.
I had some social help also from her name is Brittany. She um, helped us a little bit as well whenever she was free.
Yeah.
She was, but whenever she was free. Um, so yeah, we had a really good, well-oiled machine of a team back
Mhm.
then, and we had a very good group of guys. Their character was just off the charts amazing, and they loved what they do, and they were very serious about what they do, and at the same time, they loved answering my silly questions and
Right.
playing rock paper scissors with me. So
Yeah.
you know that definitely um solidified it in my brain that social media and content creation was an avenue that I wanted to go down. And if you had told me that I would be here, I just want to set the record straight. If you had told me that this is where I would be, what almost, when I started college in 2016, I would have told you to shut the front door because I don't think at the time there were at the time social media was important, but it wasn't as important as it is now.
Yeah,
Um, and I do think that COVID changed that for the better for my for
totally.
my better. Um, so yeah.
So you get to the Spirit. You had some good experience already, especially with the go-go. You knew you had the ability to pull out player personalities. You understood the importance of that. You had the question of the day. You had rock paper scissors, among other things. And so like was the idea when you come to the Spirit of okay, I have some creative ideas. I know I'm a creative person now. I want to bring out player personalities and establish relationships. Like or was it like do your thing. We love your creativity. Like let's start experimenting. Or is it a little more like the social media manager or the strategist or someone ahead of you or above you is going to kind of set the foundation. You're going to more execute. Like, what were those dynamics early on to bring your own creativity, but also like not be like, this is my show now. Let me do my thing.
Yeah, that's a great question because actually in 2024, basically the entire content team was um, hired that year.
Wow. Like almost
Content
starting with a blank
team
slate.
solely dedicated and hired by the Spirit. That was the first year that we had a social media manager, a content creator, myself, photographer, two videographers that were just focused on the Spirit.
Yeah.
The past couple of years, they had freelanced a lot of different roles. Our photographer, Bree, was she has been with the team since 2023, and as well as one of our videographers who has since left the Spirit, Devonte. It was just them two, and um, the agency that hired us, Hat Trip. Um,
Yeah. Go Amy.
I'll, I'll shout them out later. Yeah, go Amy. It was just them kind of at the helm for a very long time, and when we came in, me and the social media manager and the other videographer, it was experimental, but at the same time, it was guided. So it was capture what you can, think of all of these moments in the back of your mind and what's going on, and capitalize off of those opportunities, off of things that you know are going to happen. If you get bonus content, great. But it was, yeah, it was experimental, but it was guided, and they trusted our vision and the way that we saw things all in the same. So um yeah, it was a great foundation for us that year. Um for us to then, you know, have the training wheels taken off the following year, last season, and keep going from there.
Yeah. And like ultimately, especially that level, was it really, hey, all engagement's good engagement. Let's maximize our platforms. Let's grow our audiences. Was there any focus like, hey, like the gate is important to us. Like we need to make sure we drive ticket sales. Like fans in the greater DC area are more important than getting as many TikTok views or as many Instagram likes as you can. Like, how did you kind of marry the strategy with the execution a little bit, or was it early on just like, hey, we need to grow audience however we can get it?
Yes, it was a little bit, it was very much engagement forward. Actually, that first year was kind of a benchmark year engagement wise,
Hmm.
but we knew we wanted to grow our channels. Still a benchmark year, but there were still goals in mind. I was not privy to that information. I was just doing the best that I could, but
Hmm.
the platforms that I rule for the most part at the Spirit are YouTube and TikTok. And in that first year on YouTube, we went from six or I think 7K to like 13K or something like that.
Wow.
And then on TikTok, we went from 13K to 22K
Hell yeah.
followers. So super happy about that, which is
Yeah.
really great. But of course, when you're working for a women's organization such as the NWSL, that is not as established as the WNBA,
Hmm.
right? we still have a bit of and when you're playing in a stadium that, you know, seats almost 20,000 people,
Hmm.
uh, ticket sales are important as well. So it was driving ticket sales, it was getting butts and seats, it was, you know, focusing on our fans and highlighting them because of course they're so important to us. And yeah, so it was definitely those two. So it was marrying content that we knew would do well and perform well, and um, we had a excellent draft class that year. So we
Hmm.
had six very good rookies that year. They all scored a goal in their rookie season, and Croy Bethune, who's a rookie MVP. Uh,
Hell
no,
yeah.
she was rookie of the year. So it was, you know, marrying using what we know about certain content and how it performs, the player personalities that we know um, people want to see, those players that are super marketable and um, social and, wanting to be in these videos, and then
Right.
also knowing that we needed to get butts and seats. So that was kind of
Yeah.
the overarching strategy there that first year.
And how do you think about not just then, but now too, of balancing the because like personality content's going to go a little bit further, generally speaking. I mean, and yes, highlights still have their place, and some highlights do go very, very far, especially when it's a really sick play. But how do you kind of think about that balance of yes, we want to be able to showcase personality content. That tends to go viral more often, or tends to overperform more often, and that might drive more growth and more casual fan activity and attention versus like we are a soccer team first and foremost. We want to make sure that we remind fans of that, and we want to serve. Like I think this goes over most sports, not just women's soccer, not just soccer, but American football and baseball and basketball. We have a small core group of fans that care about the X and O's and want to know what formations we're going to have and want to see a cool set play. But
Yeah.
that's not necessarily where the growth comes from. But you still want to serve those diehards as well. So like, how do you think about like yes, we want to make sure we're sharing enough soccer content and the highlights even as like the more off the wall and personality driven content, lifestyle content might be helping us capture new fans and have more of a chance to quote unquote go viral.
Yeah. That's a great question. I think, you know, that's where our video producers come in. Of course, I cut um, highlights as often as I see them. I think
Hmm.
part of our strategy in game at home, our video producers aren't editing in live time. We're mostly relying on the footage that I get to post during the game. So goals, warm ups, um, those kinds of things. That's what we're putting on first. But then once we get a second, depending on a win or a loss, we sit back, we look at the content that we have, we look at the sponsorship assets that we need to fulfill. And, we had at the time, it was a Snickers satisfying play. So, yes, it's sponsored, but it's still a highlight
Yeah.
and people get to see it. And last year we were doing more of a long form. I hope we continue to do it. I think we will. But it was a long form series called Match Day. So
Mhm.
it goes through all the ebbs and flows of Match Day, whether it's home or away, to give our fans the opportunity to see what goes into a match day, from our equipment managers setting up the lockers, to player arrivals, to warm ups. Keepers warm up separately for a good chunk of warm up, and
Yeah.
um, you know, coin toss and stadium action, what's going on at the merch tent. And then you got highlights of the game. And then you have post game interactions with fans. So that's kind of the recipe for what the match day is.
Mhm.
And of course, we'd only do them when we win or it was a really good tie. So yeah, that is kind of where, a lot of long form content, but another thing that our video producers have started to do is kind of like it's like you put it's like a work of art type of vibe, but it's a particular highlight. Sofia
Yeah.
Cantare, she's Italian. She had two backheel goals last season, which is
Wow.
incredible.
Yeah.
So we just kind of, you know, she would put like a sort of classical track under
Totally.
and slow-mo vibe, and you're literally watching the play as if it's a work of art.
Yeah, like a
And
really cinematic
a lot
highlight.
correct. Cinematic highlights is
I've seen
what
that around.
we rely on when we're posting highlights. We never really want to post broadcast footage unless that's all we have. For
Right.
example, like I didn't always travel. We would travel for bus trips. So Jersey to play Gotham and
Mhm.
North Carolina to play the Courage. Um, so that was the first year. But 2025 was a little bit different, and this year will be a little bit different too with the addition of two new teams. So, um, yeah, I mean, we definitely thrive off of cinematic stuff, and when we're away, sometimes we don't have the opportunity to do that, depending on what our staffing situation looks like.
Yeah.
Um, so if we have to post a broadcast clip in the heat of the moment before we get to that cinematic piece the day after, that's what we do. But we try to refrain from it. The league will send us, collabs of that broadcast footage. Sometimes we accept it, sometimes we don't, and um, yeah, that's just kind of the recipe.
Yeah. And of course, like you guys have done such a tremendous job and continue to do a great job of showcasing your players and showing the personalities. And you are fortunate to have some players with some tremendous personalities as well. And I think most NWSL clubs have a few, if not everybody. And you see that in the way that the sport and the league is marketed. So like, and you mentioned a little bit earlier as well about getting to know the players and understanding like who's down to screw around me and who maybe is a little more stone faced and wants to focus on whatever the training day or the
Yeah,
match ahead. So like how do you start to suss that out? Like do you have some icebreakers and then can make a mental note in your head like okay, this player is someone I can joke with, or this player maybe don't joke with her on match day, maybe she's okay on training day. So how did you kind of get to know that and also get them comfortable around you so that you
yeah.
could have fun with them and they know that it's going to end up on TikTok or YouTube or Instagram, wherever it might be.
Yeah. I think going back to those first two trial games for me is where I can start with this question, because I led with, and this is still the same, unless it's a call that's coming from above me. I always told them you never have to answer the question for me. Like
Yeah,
if you don't want to, if you don't feel comfortable doing it, you don't have to. Because I know there's a select group of girls that I can always count on that will. So from I think from there, and obviously they didn't know me at the time, so they were a little, not hesitant, but just kind of aware that I'm a new person, and
yeah, feeling you out
um,
too.
yeah, filling me out, I'm filling them out, and I kind of took my surveys from that, and then also like my mental surveys from that, and then as I got to know them, and I did have a lot of help from Amy and Cecily who hired me, just kind of letting me in on certain player personalities, and but it's also reading body language, of course, and you know reading the room also.
Yeah.
So
You can kind of see
you
their
know,
own content too. A lot of these
yeah,
players are active themselves. You can see if they're having fun on their own TikTok and Instagram, like they're probably
exactly.
down for this too with me.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I think trying to get to know them outside of soccer, like if we have just the slightest bit of anything in common, there are some girls that are from the California area, or, whether it's, San Diego, or, you know, Tara McKeown is from Newbury Park. I'm sorry, Tara Rudd. She's Tara Rudd now. You know, trying to have those small things in common that can help me engage in conversation with them that doesn't involve work for either of us. I
Yeah.
think that was huge as well. So even if I just have 2 to 3 minutes out of their day to, when I'm walking in the morning, saying good morning, and oh, this is how you like your coffee, or would you prefer, a bagel versus a toaster waffle, or what do you put in your yogurt? Little things like that.
Yeah.
Um, Music and things like that, and um, yeah. So I had to then, and like I said, especially with new environments, it takes me a minute to kind of adapt and become comfortable and in my own skin and be confident in that as well. So it took some time, but it took less time, I think, because all of our players are so great. They
Yeah.
really are. They're great people, and they're always willing to help. And sometimes I let them know, like, oh, like this isn't the most fun TikTok that we're gonna make. This is more of a sales or a sponsorship thing, but they would still put their face on
Yeah.
and put their game face on and get it
Yeah.
done for me. And sometimes I get um, you know, yeah, anything for you when I ask them, and I'm like, oh, you're so sweet. And when we were in California shooting, that big announcement that happened last week,
We'll talk
um,
about that for sure.
yeah, we were just chilling in the hotel, getting ready to. We were packing things up, and um, Cory Bethune, she came over and she was like, I saw the back of your head. I was kind of confused as to why you were here, but I knew it was you. And she came over and came and greeted me and the other content girlies. And, it does go to show that we as a whole, not just me, have done a really good job of making our players comfortable with us, regardless of what we're shooting.
Yeah, that's great. I've more questions to go in that direction, but I
Yeah.
do want to ask quickly too, and as a really quick aside, what's
Mhm.
sort of the brainstorming process like for like coming up with like what kind of TikToks you want to do, what the questions they should be,
Mhm.
I want to try this, I want to try that. Like, what's your process and how do you go about it?
Um, a lot of it is like something that I would like on TikTok or a question that I would want to answer. Um, and we're all kind of around the same age bracket, so a lot of it makes sense to them and me. I'm a
Yeah,
little bit in them, but something that I know is going to be entertaining for all walks of life. And we have a Slack channel amongst, the content team and some others in the marketing team at the Spirit called Cool Stuff. And we send anything in there. It's mostly me. It's been mostly me. And it's so bad. It'll be, my nightly scroll before I'm going to bed. It's like 11 o'clock at night. And I'm just like blowing the chat up with all of
yeah,
these things I'm seeing. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this would be so fun. I really like this. And some of them are super fun, more fun and interesting and engaging sales type videos too. And
yeah,
and not everything is a video too. Some things are stills and it's a carousel. And
yeah,
yeah, it's not really a brainstorm. It's like I really like this because I'll pat myself on the back. I pat myself on the back for this. I have done such a great job with the Spirit that the people I work under really trust my judgment and
yeah,
the things that I send, and there's like, if you like it, I love it, go do it. So
totally.
that's the brainstorm process.
No, and as we I think you and I were talking a little bit offline before we started recording too, like you get to know the audience and you get to know what resonates and you can internalize all that and it becomes it fuels your intuition and your instinct for what's going to perform and that all goes into play there.
Mhm.
And you brought it up in passing. I want to talk a lot about the big announcement that we had recently with Trinity Rodman signing her big deal to stay in the NWSL with the Spirit. Thankfully, yay! But you guys do have some superstars on the team. Trinity being one of them, among a few others as well. And there's some players that you can post anything, and if they're in it, like it's gonna perform better than if they weren't in it. And so like when it comes to making the cuts of a a player arrival or a question of the day or choosing who to be part of content, who to feature, like you could just do Trinity Rodman every day, all day. You do Esme Morgan all day. So like, is there an intentionality of saying we want to make sure that we are telling the stories of all of our players and featuring them? They all have time in the spotlight, and we're not over-indexing on the players that our fans are cannot get enough of, I guess.
Mhm. Absolutely. And I think there are times where I how do I say, like, I subtly veto some requests that I get. It was like, oh, I really want to do, or I want us to really post a lot about Trinity this week. And I'm like, sure, we can do that. But at the same time, I am going to bring our other players into the mix because they deserve it too. Um,
Yeah,
Everyone deserves to have that time. And yes, we know that some of them don't particularly like it, but there are some that don't, and I don't want anyone to feel excluded. I've always been that way, not just in my work, but in my personal life as well. Like if we're having a group gathering, I want to invite everybody, give everybody a chance to say yes or no, because it feels better to give everyone the option and to give everyone the chance versus coming around the back end and like, oh, I really wish I could have been included in that. And that would, I haven't gotten that. And I'm very grateful that we haven't gotten that because, you know, I try to include everybody as much as possible. And yeah, that's always been a big thing for me. And um, yeah, that's just kind of how I go about it. And if there's a player that I'm looking through our feed, and you know, I'm like, haven't really seen them in a little bit. Let me do something that, and I think the question of the days is are a big thing for that. You
Yeah.
get to see everybody and you get to hear from everybody's opinion. So I really like to do question of the days for that um, purpose. Not only because they're fun, you get to hear from everybody, you get to see
Yeah.
everybody. Especially, you know, we have international players. I don't speak Spanish super well, but yeah, I never want anybody to be to feel excluded. So
Yeah.
I always offer it up. And when I notice that, you know, we're getting a little heavy, and I have, you know, even if there are a lot of things going on, and sometimes, you know, sometimes it slips. Um, there are other people on our team that are like, oh, we haven't posted this person in a while. Let's give them a shout, or let's put them first in this carousel of
Yeah.
photos instead, or instead of, you know, either not including them or putting them at the back and putting, you know, Trinity in the front. Um, because as special and as wonderful as Trinity is, we have other players on the team, and she knows that and she respects that. And she had said, and you know, she loves her team so much. And we love the team as well, and we want to highlight the entire team, not just our players, our, you know, our star girls is what I
Yeah.
like to call it. So yeah.
Totally. No, I remember hearing at some point about like Saturday Night Live and how they like to try to find sketches that everyone can play a role in because it allows everyone a little bit of time in the spotlight. So when like next time you see one of the like sketches where it's like this is people trying out for this kind of role or auditioning or whatever, and it's like they
Mhm.
go one by one and everyone gets their chance in the spotlight. And so it can kind of be similar when you're plotting out different content formats on the social side for the team as well. And I
Yeah.
think you guys do a good job of telling the story of match day and telling the story of the team. And I think it's been an interesting, not trend so to speak, but like we're gonna show you what it's like to be a team equipment manager. We're gonna show you what it's like to be a team nutritionist. We're gonna show you what it's like to be a photographer on team day or on match
Yes.
day. So like, how has it been? At first, like how do those content franchise and ideas come about, and how has it been like sort of talking to making sure that it's cool to include to have the equipment manager be a part of the content and getting their buy-in and getting them to be allow you guys to be following them around for a day.
Yeah. We haven't had that conversation about series that we want to do in 2026 yet. I think a lot of it is going to be a continuation of what we were doing in 2025. But
Mhm.
in 2025, in the beginning stages of our off season, me, I mean, we all, the content team, we sat down and were like, okay, what do we want to do more of?
Yeah,
And our video producers really love long form content. They love to do documentary style pieces. So that's where that came in. And of course, we want to highlight the people that are doing, you know, the work behind the scenes.
yeah,
And Jordan, our equipment manager, she's amazing. She's been doing it for a really long time, and she's actually had a lot of different hats while she's been at the Spirit. She was there in 2021 as I was, but she was doing my job. So
wow.
I mean,
That's
yeah,
so
she
cool.
was doing like a communications type thing and posting things on social as they saw fit. And you know, she's then um transitioned into being an equipment manager, and she does such a great job. And um she's one of three people on her team. So
Mhm.
the three of them, they do an excellent job, and we want to make sure that we're highlighting that. And you know, our coaching staff, um our physios, you know,
Yeah.
everyone is important to the success of this organization. And we want to showcase that. And
And fans are interested.
me,
Like that content tends to do well because it's sort of like the
yeah,
stuff that you don't know about. It's like, how does this work?
people are curious about it.
Yeah.
They don't know how many, loads of laundry that Jordan has to do per week or per day even.
Yeah.
And even as a fan, like my favorite teams are, FC Barcelona, the Dallas Cowboys, and the Los Angeles Lakers. I would most definitely sit there on YouTube and watch them fold laundry for all I
Totally.
can, just because it's so interesting and you see how different people do different things and their process for how they do it. And I just think that it's so interesting. And so yeah, we want to feed into that audience that cares about that and wants to see those behind the scenes. And I was talking to our photographer Bree about how I myself want to create more content for myself to post on social media, just to let people in on what we're doing. And
Yeah.
um, this will probably have to be a broader conversation that I have with our video producers, because I think we need to highlight them as well. And I don't know how we're going to do that if they're supposed to be holding the camera,
Right.
but we will figure it out. And I definitely think our photographer deserves a spotlight, because she does so much, from ideating sets and lighting and her visualization for how she wants things to look is so incredible and interesting. And
Yeah.
yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to pitch that to somebody and
I like it.
help them not be shy about it.
A few minutes left here with Paige Price, social media creator for the Washington Spirit. And it's a perfect segue to something I wanted to talk to you about, and that is like you, the admin. I'm making finger quotes for anyone who's not watching the video of like when it's playing rock paper scissors, it's your hand that's in the frame. When it's like giving them candy to answer a question, it's your hand reaching out with candy. It's your voice in the
Mhm.
background. So like, how have you seen yourself become like a side character almost, or like even a host in some capacity? And like, is there something that you're cognizant of, and is there an opportunity for maybe you should turn the camera around time and almost be like, here I am today, like, and we're about to play this match, and like being that more of that face, like, how have you kind of navigated that? How do you think about that? And how has it been kind of, like I said, like becoming a character for fans?
Yeah. For the most part, I have just been behind the camera. And
Yeah,
I think, and even though it was only 2 years ago and it's still pretty recent, that's what being an admin has been. But I have since seen a lot of different clubs and organizations have that frontward facing social media personality.
yeah,
FC
that host.
Barcelona being one of them. Their me basically does often turn the camera around and be like, "Hey guys, this is us at our Champions League game, and
Yeah,
you know we're here in, I don't know, Italy, and this is a really big game for us. So excited to walk you through it," something like that. So that is something that I have thought about and I've talked to my social media manager about. And um, I am cognizant of my hands and my voice, and I
yeah.
try to have my nails done and try to, if I'm giving them something, I
And
actually
there
hate.
was one where like they had you, like they chose a tattoo for you almost, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. I have a surprise for them for that one. So that should be fun.
That's
Um,
great.
I'm not gonna get a tattoo. But you know, I have a surprise for those that did that with me. And yeah, like you said, I am cognizant of my voice. I actually hate the sound of my voice on the video, but it's a necessary evil to what I do. So um, you know, it's not like I can change my voice, but a lot of times, sometimes I don't think about it as much, and I'm just like, people are gonna love this regardless of what my voice
Yeah,
sounds like. It's just me, who no one else cares. Um, but yeah, I'm definitely cognizant about, my voice and what my hands look like, and how we are presenting, how I'm presenting to our fans. And
yeah,
some people notice me on the field, some people don't. And um, you know, like I said, there has oftentimes been a, sort of, the thing of being anonymous as an admin. And I
right.
think that's changing now, because I've seen there are some people that I follow that are admins. Her name's Hannah Peary. She's admin for the Houston Rockets, and she has very detailed descriptions of what she does in a work day and
Yeah.
behind the scenes stuff. Like I think I saw a reel where she did something with like her Meta glasses or something and
Yeah. I watched that.
captured how she did that. And I think, you know, I'm open to it for sure. I think that's just a conversation that I need to have with everyone if they're down for that, if they're down to start doing things a little more untraditional. Um, so yeah, I'm
No,
down.
it's interesting because like there's in some capacity like I could see being the faceless admin, and so that way like if
Mhm.
you're years from now whatever when someone else is at the key on the keys for the spirit that it doesn't feel like they lost somebody like they're recasting you or whatever. So they're that capacity. Look a mini like meta question too then. Not meta the capital M, meta lowercase m. When
Mhm.
you're like engaging in the comments back with fans, like in your head, are you engaging as Paige, the admin, or you're engaging as the Washington Spirit?
Sometimes it's both. It definitely depends on what I'm commenting back on because we can go back to our players. I've learned so much about them and I've spent so much time around them that you know, we've become friends in a way. So I get very defensive over them.
Yeah,
So depending on what people post in the comments and stuff, I will get permission from somebody to say certain things, and I never want to be disrespectful, especially not on the internet and especially not as admin. Me, Paige Price, different story. But Paige Price admin, I will be a little bit more respectful, but it will be very sarcastic, very what are you gonna do about it? Something situation
yeah.
like that. Sometimes we get um how do I say? Sometimes we get some people in the comments talking about how empty stands are or something like that. And it's just kind of like, okay, you do it that way.
Right.
You know, something that's not gonna ruffle too many feathers, but still get the point across that, you know, we are a women's sports organization that are, we're doing great work on and off the field. And, we don't really care for comments like that because we know what we're doing and we are confident in what we're doing and um, you know, the lives that we have changed, the people that we have introduced to us via our content. There are people that have seen some content and be like, I've never been to a spirit game, but this makes me want to go to one. And
Love that.
that is the only compliment that, we really need. Or,
Oh yeah.
I love the comments, admin needs a raise. And I'm like, oh, that means I did something great. And um we need to hear that, but at the same time, yeah. I mean, I try to keep my personality out of certain things, but I think me and our social media manager kind of have a similar mindset about those kinds of things. So it does kind of stay the same when we're responding to people in the comments. Like even the positive ones, we'll still have a very positive yet playful vibe to what we're saying. Especially if we're like hiding a secret or something like that. We had, yeah, we've stayed quiet on the trend thing for a really long time. So we definitely didn't do anything, regarding that. We stayed total radio silent on those comments, but um, anything positive, we like to be playful with our fans, and we like to be encouraged. We like to encourage them. We like to empower them, and yeah,
Did that voice or tone or even just the overall brand and vibe of the Spirit on social evolve at all, like as the team was so successful this past season and you guys started like, not taking names and winning a lot and making the run to the championship game?
absolutely. I'll say there are some clubs that are a little bit more obnoxious with their voice than others. We don't want to be those people.
Yeah.
We aim to, like I said, we aim to empower and encourage and um really stay true to who we are as an organization. We are, our mission statement. I don't know it off the top of my head, but I know that part of it is setting a good example and a foundation for other young women and young girls, as like the standard to look up to. So we want to make sure that we are amplifying that standard at all costs while still being engaging and funny. So yeah, that's kind of our voice, and it has changed over a little bit, but we don't want to air it, we err on the side of caution because we don't want anything to come back
Right.
to harm us, even if it's just a comment.
Yeah.
We want to make sure that we are not being overconfident or cocky. We remain humble at all times, and you know, I think our players love that about us. I think they have the same mindset. Um, Humility is huge for them, and it's huge for me as a person. So, um, confident but not cocky is a fine
Yeah.
line.
Act like you've been there before.
Mhm.
Just one more thing for these little shareable stat, and it's a very big thing. Is you mentioned it before, and for weeks it felt like the entire sports world was waiting on with bated breath to see was Trinity Rodman going to end up playing in the WSL, or was he going to stay in the NWSL and stay with the Spirit and all the different permutations and storylines. So like, tell me when did you know, and when did you guys know that this is gonna end with a happy ending, and how is the planning start to take place for, like, how are we gonna execute this? How are we gonna maximize this? Like, and what does Trinity want to do? How does she want to play a part in how this announcement's gonna happen? And just take me in those rooms and tell us about how it all came together, because it was great. I think all the content that came out, the way it was portrayed, the way that Trinity was involved, it felt like her story to tell. Just it was a great job. So I'm excited to hear about it.
Yeah. And thanks for that. We appreciate, the compliments. And it was something that I will share my own internal mindset about how I thought. I had kind of always knew that this would be the outcome. Um, my only thing was when
Mhm.
and, you know, what rules would be established in order to make it happen within the league. So that was my only thing that I was concerned about. I felt like, not that me and Trinity are besties or anything, but I think from what I have come to learn about her, she loves the Spirit. She loves DC. She's a competitor through and through. And I, she said this in her press conference, but I felt this way. I was like, I don't think she's done here. I think she feels like there's more to do and there's more that she wants to do here. Um, and that turned out to be right on the money. And um, I didn't know for sure until maybe 2 weeks ago when I got the call and it was like, hey, so we're gonna do this whole announcement thing in LA. Are you available to come with us to LA and do this shoot and do this thing? And I was like, yeah.
Oh yeah.
I was like, I'm looking at my dog and I'm like, I don't know where I'm gonna put you, but yeah. I'm like, absolutely. I mean, it's just one of those things that, you know, not only do you want to be a part of it, but you know, there's a certain sure it's not like I felt forced to, but I knew that I had to because it was just kind of it's a momentous it's huge. It's a huge thing for
Yeah.
her, for the sport, for the league.
And
And
the world, like, there are a lot of fans in Europe probably who are like paying attention to the story very closely.
yeah, absolutely. And who wouldn't want to be a part of that? So that was when I knew, and then it didn't really feel real until, you know, flights were booked and things like that. But another piece I want to say is like Trinity was pretty hands-on in the content creation as well.
Mhm.
You mentioned the story. A lot of that was her vision. The video that she posted on her channels before we went live with our video, she was working with um she was sending edits back and forth and was like, this is the kind of feel that I wanted to have. So it was a lot of fan interaction because we know that she spends a lot of time interacting with fans after games. And, um, you know, that's how she wanted it to look. and we were able to deliver. She was very happy with it, from what I know, and um, I was able to go behind the scenes with her for a lot of the things. Like, I haven't posted any of this yet, and I will probably in this upcoming week. Um, her getting ready and choosing her outfit for the shoot that we ended up designing for her, that included jerseys from every year that she had been a part of the Spirit. So, you know, I can say this now. Not all of them were hers. So, a lot of us hanging up those jerseys was very strategic in that way, so that we didn't see the back because they weren't all hers. Um, and we knew that it would be sentimental not only to her but for our fans to see that, because this is now her going into her fifth, sixth season.
Mhm.
So yeah, to kind of tell that story from that perspective, a lot of it was her. That set that we had created, that was us, but we were doing it based off of her vision.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, safe to say, we delivered. We didn't know how much time we were going to get with her for that shoot. We had spaced out. We had allotted 30 minutes with her. Um, we were running a little bit late. I won't say why, but we were running a little late, and um, she graciously gave us an extra half hour.
Yeah.
So um, even though things were, behind schedule, she was so gracious in giving us that time to make sure that we had everything that we needed. And she was excited. She knew how momentous this occasion was.
Yeah.
Um,
She definitely
so
seemed to
she
appreciate she appreciated the impact that it was going to have, and that was great.
for sure. And yeah, a lot of options she had to choose from wardrobe. So um yeah, that was, even those little details, were heavily thought about, and not only on her end but us as well. So yeah.
And from like a tactical, like just to get in the weeds here, which is gonna be fun, like execution perspective, like were you guys plotting out, okay, this we're gonna post this first on this platform, we're gonna wait 30 minutes and then post this, like this is the exact copy we're gonna use, and like how like detailed did you guys get with your execution plans?
We had a document of the entire execution plan, and it wasn't necessarily by platform, but it was by asset. So there were some
Mhm.
assets that we had created, a month before this. They were just ready to go. So to touch on part of your question, from before, we were prepared for either occasion. For either
Wow.
way the pendulum swung, we were prepared.
Yeah.
Um, Obviously, we didn't want to have to post our sad goodbye stuff. That's not what we
Right.
wanted to have to
Right.
post. So we're so happy that we were able to post all of the things that we had planned for the most part. And um it it was sorry, I lost my train of thought.
No,
Um
I'm sitting here imagining the
yeah.
thank you Trin for everything assets that
Oh,
thankfully will never see the light of day.
that's how I lost my train of thought, because thinking about those going out versus the other ones, oh my gosh, it would have been absolutely gut wrenching. But yeah, we had, timings for that. And, we were having a live press event. So a lot of it was based off of that, because our owner wanted to be the first person to say it. So we were doing it based on that kind of timeline. And from there, our owner would say it, Trinity would post her video, then we would post ours minutes after, not 30, not 15, like 2, 3 minutes after.
Yeah.
So that was the timeline. And I had a couple of the little fun reels and stuff that were part of the mix as well, and our photographer had excellent photos that were taken on that set that we did her video on. So we went out with that, and we have more. That's the thing, that wasn't even all of it. So um and then she went and scored on Saturday. So
Right.
there, there were lots of things that we were able to capitalize on. And yeah, a lot went into planning everything. And our social media manager didn't come with us. She stayed in DC and was kind of handling things on the ground, while we were, getting everything that we needed. And a lot of planning sessions. And okay, what if we, our the photos from our photographer weren't slated to go on that first day. but they were so good, and I was like, no, we really need to have these photos in there on the first day. Like, what can we move, or what can we can we push this other post back and make room for these photos to go in on this day rather than Friday, because I felt very strongly that those photos needed to go because they were so good. So yeah,
Oh,
we have,
absolutely love hearing it.
we're flexible, because knowing our audience and all that, yeah.
Yeah, and then to some extent you get to sit back and see the numbers go up and up and see all the great comments, and I'm sure ticket sales, merch sales, inbound
Mhm.
traffic, like it just
Yeah,
wins all around and so
I can't
impactful.
imagine being a fan and not really knowing, because I know that there are some Spirit fans that were extremely uncertain about the outcome of this and had already had deposits on their season tickets. And do I think that they would have kept them? Yes, but I think we would have heard it if the if if the pendulum swung the other way. But like I said, we're grateful for that outcome, and happy that we get to have the joy that Trinity Rodman is back on our roster for another 3 years.
Well, such a great job by you and the whole team, and so thankful to see it come together like that. And looking back at years from now, decades from now, when you look back in your career like that, you're going to be part of one of the most impactful stories in women's professional soccer in the States for sure. That
Mhm.
was a pivotal moment, and it's great to see,
Yeah,
and great to see that Trinity will be back in a Spirit uniform next season.
absolutely.
Well, Paige, I have so much more I could talk to you about. We will talk to you more with you in our set piece segment. First episode's shareable stat coming up right now. Right back in this episode of Shareable Stat, and I'm joined once again by Paige Price. She's a social media creator for the Washington Spirit. Paige, you kicked ass in your interview. Are you now ready to take some set pieces?
Of course.
All right, let's line them up. Corner kicks, set plays. Let's see how you can bend it around and place it. Number one for you, tell me, this is an interesting one. Tell me the app you use the most when it comes to creating content.
CapCut or TikTok?
So you find like, is the TikTok composer and producer like, is it equivalent to CapCut in some ways? We're not good enough. Like,
I feel like CapCut allows you to do a little bit more, and TikTok is just kind of the basics. You add the menu, put a little transition in there,
right.
and then you're good to go. I feel like CapCut, you can do, and TikTok has done a little bit more in adding those elements to where you can do like voice isolation or reduce noise and keyframes and things of that nature. But I think for some finer details, I will go in and I'll
Stuff
make
with
it
Cap.
on CapCut. Yeah.
And the folks at Meta have not gotten you to try edit yet or edits. CapCut.
I haven't. I've just CapCut is just phenomenal
Hell
in
yeah.
my.
I mean, even me, who's an old fuddy duddy who can barely do content creation, CapCut is user friendly as well. Number two, you mentioned going to HBCU. You mentioned going to Hampton. If I know nothing else about HBCUs, I know that the drum lines kick ass and the bands kick ass. So tell me, like, what was your experience like seeing the marching force drum line, which is a famous marching force drum line at Hampton University? Tell me about it.
I love my HU, my home by the sea. I will shout it from the rooftops. I have a lot of family members that went to Howard University, which I have no animosity about. I am just pro HBCU, period. Some Howard students feel differently about that HU rivalry. I personally don't really care. But going to Hampton and seeing the marching force and hearing them at football games and at homecoming and whatever they were doing. And, they went to Italy for some trip a couple years back, and Macy's Day Parade a couple of times. It's so, so cool. And then just
Yeah,
hearing, when I was playing at Hampton, when I was playing soccer, we would hear them practicing because they're practicing at the same time.
yeah,
Um, and to see all the different formations and how important the drum majors are to the marching force and all of the things that they do. I knew a drum major. I mean, we still talked, but yeah, I mean, all the things that they do to give the entertainment to us is incredible. And for a long time, there was a right on cue. Coast, it's okay. Relax, please. Um,
No worries.
there are times where I'm hearing them perform, and I'm a big Kendrick Lamar fan, and they were practicing the arrangement for Loyalty featuring Rihanna, and I was like,
Wow.
this is it is quite literally music to my ears, but it was so beautifully done, and I was just over the moon because my California heart is, I love Kendrick Lamar so much. I'm just like, yes, give me more of this. Yeah, and I love seeing videos on whether it's the Marching Force or, the Human Jukebox, Southern University's band. Seeing any HBCU band have a killer arrangement on the internet, I'm always gonna like, repost, and comment whatever because I love it so much. So good.
So great. It's such a cool, unique experience about going to HBCUs, and they're unmatched, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
You can't beat it. Number three for you, Paige. Tell me, you mentioned some of the work you have to do at Octagon, working with some really big names, including the biggest name in pickleball, arguably with Annalie Waters, Julio Rodriguez, among others. So tell me your favorite project or piece of content you got to work on or be part of during your internship with Octagon.
That's such a good question. I know I'm blanking on a couple, but the one that's sticking out, there's two that stick out. Editing a Super Bowl edit for Emmett Smith. He was at the Super Bowl,
Wow.
and I got to edit the content that was given to me. Would have been great to go, but to be able to live vicariously through the footage that was given to me to edit was good enough. The second one, Julio Rodriguez, he had become, you know, one of the only or one of the few to join the 40-40 club or something like
Mhm.
that in his second or third year
Yeah,
as a
that sounds right.
rugby player. And I made this really sick edit for it. And at the time, Travis Scott's album had just dropped, and it was the one with the song with SZA, and people were going like, 2023 versus 2024. So I kind of did that. It was like 2022, his previous season. And then the next season it was a cut to, it was kind of like a hype video and celebrating the fact that he did it like 2-3 times in a row, and he's one of the only people to do it. So I'm really happy about that one. And the edit was really clean, and yeah, that's probably one of my favorites.
That's awesome. I'm gonna have to look that one up for sure. That's really cool. Number four, you can go as detailed as you like or high level. It's up to you. Tell me, what does a Spirit home match day look like? From pillow to pillow, from the time you wake up till the time you end the day. Again, with as much detail as you can or want to give. Just take us through a day in the life of Paige Price on a match day.
Yeah, sure. So let's set the stage at a um, you know, 7 p.m. kickoff.
Hmm.
Okay. So the content team, we usually get to the stadium around 3 to 4 hours before.
Hmm.
So I am waking up, I'm making sure that I'm having a really good breakfast. I'm not a morning person. I'm not. The times that it was because I was playing a sport and I was in high school and I had a bunch of energy that I don't have now to be up playing soccer at 8 o'clock in the morning. So I like to, on days where we have a late game, I like to go through my process a little bit more on the relaxed side of things. So like I'm eating breakfast at noon, getting ready, taking a shower, whatever, around 1, and um, watching whatever soccer is on. If there's like a Premier League game on or something like that, I'm watching that as I'm getting ready and packing my bag and making sure all of my everything's charged, and I have
Yeah.
extra batteries for things and all of the equipment that I'll need for a game day. And um, I'm trying to get out of the house at least 30 minutes before I need to be there. Sometimes I'm a little late because I have ADHD and time is not a real concept sometimes. I'm actively working on it. Um, but yeah, I try to leave the house. Luckily, I don't live super far from Audi Field, 10-15 minute drive, depending on traffic. Um, so I get to the stadium, I park where I need to park, I go through security, I go down to our media room, which we share with DC United's media people. They're usually not there, but that's just where everybody comes in and they put their stuff in. We go through plans for the day. If there's anything specific that we need to get that's on our shot list, and we talk about that and who's getting it. And Next thing you know it, players are arriving, and that's when it's my time to shine. I have my question of the day in my back pocket, or whatever weird thing I'm trying to get them to do, like sign an autograph of their, teenage selves,
Right.
where they might not want to do that, or calling them by their government name, or
Yeah.
playing, trying to see who will touch this random soccer ball that's just laying out on the ground in the on their way in, and who won't touch it, and silly things like that. And I think, there was a time where where I was told to stop doing that or pause doing that. So I had to kind of figure a workaround about that. But I think, you know, and it really hit home when I had a player come up to me when I was told not to, and they were like, "What's the question?" And I was like, "There's no question." They were like, "What do you mean?" So
Oh,
that was like, dang. Now that I know that they love it, I'm like, oh, you know. Some of them they have like, it's a very, it's like a, they trust me, but there's a very good amount of mistrust as well, just because they don't know what to expect from me, but they're down for the most part.
yeah.
They're just, what does Paige have for us today? Like, what are we doing? But they love it. And so, yeah, I do that. And um, I try to get this before they come in, but I get like a shot of, just a pan up from the stairs, from the tunnel to
Mhm.
the field, you know, of it being empty, which we usually don't like to market, but um, it's kind of cool to be like, yeah, this is what it's like when it's empty and there's not a lot of stuff going on, but it's a
Yeah.
game day. It's like
Calm
the
before
quiet.
the storm kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So I like to get that, and that will be like my first Instagram story post of the day. Like, oh, it's game day and we're at home. Happy, we can't wait to see you type
Yeah.
vibe. And that's when players are, getting ready, getting in the zone to, warm up and activate their muscles, and, get the game day speech from their coach. And then they go out and they do warm ups. I'm capturing warm ups. Before I capture warm ups, I try to get things that are going on the concourse,
Mhm.
um, any other pregame things that are coming from, our community relations team. If we're recognizing someone for
Mhm.
being, an outstanding coach in our community, something like that. I'm grabbing that as well. For the playoffs, our supporters group, they had a TIFO, which was really
Yeah.
cool. So I grabbed that too. And then I'm grabbing warm-ups, and then I'm posting and editing in live time that question of the day, whatever it is. And I like to have that posted before starting 11 goes out, which
Mhm.
is usually 30 minutes to an hour before kickoff. Um, and then I'm in the tunnel behind the last player who's starting, and I'm going up the tunnel with them, and I'm capturing that. And national anthem, game starts. Um, they do some sprints before the game starts. I try to get that too. And there are some players on our roster that had little, parts of their routine that they would do
Yeah.
outside of the preset warm up that they have. So I try to get that too. Um, and then depending on what side we're on, I wish I had, a little bit more of a warning before that. Sometimes I have a minute to just kind of watch the players as they break out from their huddle and see what side they're going to position myself. And I have a minute to get to that side from the halfway mark. And yeah, I pick my spot, and I do my thing, and I'm waiting for something to happen and making sure that my angle is really good, and that my zoom is at a adequate place to make sure that I'm capturing the whole essence of everything. And
Yeah.
there is a goal on that side when we score. I try to get a fan reaction to be a part of the video. Um and yeah, that's what it will be. We switch
So you,
sides,
you're
do
just
this.
like filming the whole time too, like so you can't miss anything. You got the camera going.
I try to see, and this is where being a former soccer player comes in. I can see the plays developing, and when it looks promising,
Yeah.
if they're on the other side of the field, I'm not worrying about them. I'm not. And then they come back, and a ball's played out wide, and Trinity Rodman has the ball, she crosses it, and somebody heads it in. Like, I'm privy to that. Like, I can see it forming before it happens. So that's really helpful for me. And um, yeah, and then there are lots of times where when I go through my footage, it's just 1 second of something because it didn't pan out the way that I thought it
Right.
would.
Right.
And I delete it really quickly before I go back to recording. And yeah, I usually try to just scan the field and hit record when I feel something
Mhm.
promising is going to come.
Mhm.
And that's how I save storage space. And yeah, so like we'll switch sides. I'll do the same thing, and then post game, if we win, I'm trying to get like a selfie video from a player,
Mhm.
to be like, oh, yeah, thanks for coming out. Um, Come back out next week or something like that, if that's what our schedule is. If we have a home game next week, and then I'm capturing fan interactions, any post game celebrations that are happening within the squad, and just making sure that it's all encompassing and that you're really getting a feel for the entire fan experience of
Yeah.
what coming to the Spirit game is like. Um, and then depending on a win or a loss, I'm going back inside, back down the tunnel, back to the media room. We're going through all the content and all the things that we have that we're delegating it. Okay, do we want to post this today before we go home? Do we want to post this in the morning? Do we want to just post this on stories right now and just go home? Obviously, it changes based on if we win or lose and what the stakes are, like who we play. Like if we played Orlando or Gotham and like we know it's going to be really important to get it up, we'll get it up. But if we lose, we're like, okay, well, everybody go home. We'll figure out what we want to post tomorrow.
Yeah.
So yeah, there are some days, and we have a lot of late games on our schedule, so there will be some days where I won't leave the stadium until at least around 11:30 at night, which is so much fun. So
Long.
yeah, we're looking at a nice little day. What? So if game started at 7, I'm getting there at 3. Sometimes I'll leave at 10, sometimes I'll leave at 11, depending on what the vibes are. So that's a nice little, what, 10-hour day? Is that a math right?
Yeah. 8+
um,
hours. Yeah.
8+ hours. But I mean, it's so much fun, and you get to, that fan interaction piece is always really cool for me because I was one of those little girls that
Totally.
was going to games, and I wasn't able to be in a position where I'm front row and being able to get autographs like the way that they are.
Yeah.
Mostly because the stadium that I grew up going to just wasn't situated that way. But we also, we were sitting somewhere else. So it just wasn't always in the cards for me. But to see how excited they are to just see their favorite player in the flesh, it heals a little bit of me. Because that used to be me, wanting to get an
Yeah.
autograph, you know, Alex Morgan. And for a while, when before I had this job, I would see Alex Morgan on the field, whip my phone out and just like kind of secretly record, be like, oh my God, it's Alex Morgan. And or when Kelly O'Hara was playing for us, I was a defender for a lot of my career, and I was like, oh my God, it's Kelly O'Hara.
Yeah.
Um, so part of me, the little girl in me is partially healed, and then the fangirl in me is also having, you know, a little happy time on the inside.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my day.
Love it. That's so great. Yeah, and yeah, those moments when you see like a little girl like having a
Oh,
lifelong memory get made, like it's
yeah.
those never get
It's
old.
so sometimes it really just, sometimes it makes me emotional because it's so awesome to see.
So
Yeah.
mean too. On a completely like not completely different, but in a similar vein, you serve you've done some work as an LCC live content creator for the NBA as well, going at Wizards games. So I guess in a little more abbreviated fashion because it's not as important as your full-time job.
Mhm.
Like tell me what does a day in the life look like when you're an LCC for a Wizards game?
So I actually haven't started that yet,
Okay,
but
okay.
fingers crossed. I think so. The situation is like, obviously we know the Wizards aren't the most exciting team in the NBA, right?
They got Trey
Um,
Young now if he ever plays, yeah.
exactly. It's looking up for them. And, the trade deadline is next week. So there might be some other changes that, will make it more exciting. But, they have to have somebody from the NBA come down and train me first and kind of introduce me to, because actually never been in Capital One's arena as like an
Yeah.
admin working in a working function. So giving me the lay of the land, introducing me to security guards, showing me, where I can and can't be in certain instances, and introducing me to people that will be helpful as I'm an LCC. That's part of that training process, and we just haven't been able to work out a date for that.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping that that date is very near, and I'm hopeful that that date is very near in the future. And they really do want to get me started as much as I want to get started, because
Yeah.
obviously it's huge. And I was picked out off of Gondola, which is where I have my portfolio. So
Yeah. Absolutely.
I'm honored to have been picked out. It goes to show that, like I said, they're as excited to have me start as I'm excited to start. So
Yeah.
hopefully when Trey Young is cleared to play, that will be my time to shine as well.
Yeah, that'll be super cool to learn the ropes of filming another sport. Or your go from like seeing two or three or four goals at most in a game to a basket every 2 seconds almost, or every 30 seconds. So that'll be
Yeah,
a great
especially
experience.
since basketball was the first sport that I really came into contact with. Growing up a Laker fan and watching, I was an infant, but I was there for the three-peat situation. And
Perfect.
I idolized Kobe Bryant. And yeah, to be in basketball, there's a little bit of a special place in my heart for basketball. But obviously, being around soccer more, it's just kind of got the edge. Soccer has the edge a little bit, but I love basketball. So any chance I have to be in that space, I'm open and willing to take it.
Heck yeah, and like you said, hopefully the Wizards are on the up and up. They got a lot of young talent there, so
Yeah,
it happen.
absolutely.
Next one for you, Paige. I'm interested in this one for sure. We've talked a lot about Trinity Rodman, and then one of the things that really stood out to me and just seeing some of your guys' videos was a press conference when she discussed her return from injury and like talked about like the not just like coming back and playing, but like the mental health aspects of like having to be out and what it's like going through a recovery process and focusing on making sure you're taking care of yourself. And so like how did that resonate with the fans and how important is it for you guys as a club to really show that side of players and humanize these players that they are incredible athletes, but they're humans at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm. It's really important, especially for me, and I think our content team as well, because we see that other side of them that's not just on the field every day, right? So we know their personalities, we know their love for the game, we know how much it pains them to be out for any amount of time. So with Trinity's injury, with her being out for so long, I mean, obviously her having that kind of return to the game was super important. But she talks about the emotions whenever she's asked about it. She talks about the emotions she felt during that game, after she scored in that game, what it was like, and how the challenges were to be in isolation. And we saw on her social media, she was with her boyfriend Ben Shelton for a lot of the time, but at the same time, she's not around her teammates.
Yeah.
So yes, she has someone there comforting her, but at the same time, she's away from her team for an extended period of time, where there's a different kind of support there. So a lot of physical therapy that she's doing in isolation, where um, in different situations she would be amongst her teammates and have that different support, that's a different support system. And um, you know also as a former athlete, I understand what that means. Not
Yeah.
just Trinity Rodman's injury, but when Croy was hurt, when she got hurt, and when she tore her meniscus, um, and it actually didn't happen the way that the reports happened. That's not the truth. I was there, but it was that day. And um, you know, it was gut wrenching to have that, and to know her reaction. And then the week after, she had gotten rookie of the month. And I was we had made it a thing to surprise our players with awards that they got. And her mom was in town, so we were like, okay, let's have her mom tell her. And in that moment when her mom told her that she had won rookie of the month, just she's on crutches, she's got her knee wrapped up, and she looks in good spirits, even though we know that it's challenging for her.
Mhm.
um, we told her she had won. And she's crying, but she's grateful. And you know she's grateful, but she's still heartbroken that she doesn't have the opportunity to continue the run that she was on
Right.
uh, in her rookie season. But in those moments, it's it's still a big part of what we do because there's still a fine line of, the human aspect that we want to show and the things that we don't,
Totally.
um there are certain subjects that we just don't really talk about because we know a certain player doesn't want to talk about it, and make it something that is um super public information for everybody. So yeah, there's a fine line, but we do want to make sure that we are putting our players in the best light, but also showcasing that human factor, to the best of our ability as well.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate that response. It's really thoughtful and it comes through. Next one for you. This is I want to pick your brain here briefly. Tell us like you work on a lot of the short form feeds between like TikTok and even YouTube. Shorts is obviously a big part of everything now. So like, what have you learned about short form feeds and these algorithms and what works, what doesn't work? Like, what surprised you at times? Like, just give us a little like a quick short form video 101.
Yeah. What surprises me is that sometimes the edits that you don't put a lot of effort into do better than
Yeah.
some you really take a lot of time doing. I don't know why it is the way that it is. Um, Sometimes it has to do with hashtags. Sometimes it has to do with, I play around with different things depending on what I'm posting, and just to see if there's any sort of change. So like certain posts I won't put any hashtags just to see what it does, and some I'll put, the max of 5, and I'll see what it does then, and just kind of like, you know, kind of give me a good point to um to analyze and, further evaluate how I'm posting content and what content I'm posting. But one thing that I do know doesn't work on certain platforms, a lot of the sales edits and things that we do, they don't always do well. I think the way around that, we've been a little bit more creative in how we do it. There are these transitional hooks that I love to do. I do a lot of them with Croy. Some of them I do them with Hal Hirschfeld. Sometimes I do them with any player that's willing to do them. And it's just kind of like something outrageous. For example, 2024, we were trying to sell out our game against the San Diego Wave, um, the same one that Croy had scored that game winner or tying game or goal or something like that. Um, there was the hook was a guy at a coconut stand chopping a coconut in half and just like water spilling out. We poured water on Croy. She was down for it, and
Yeah.
she loved it. And it was one of our top performing pieces at the time because I think it was so, you know, unconventional.
Yeah, totally.
Because a lot of times it's like you get a player to be like, hey, we have a game at this time, this place, whatever, whatever, and that's just it. And that's boring. So we just decided to make it a little bit more fun, and we literally we threw water on her from two sides, and yeah, that's just kind of a thing that I do primarily with her because I think that's just how it's been, and I think for that consistency, and she loves doing them too, so it works that way. But I try to ask other players if they want to be involved in it too, and sometimes they're like, oh, but that's Croy's thing, and I'm like, I'm not saying nobody else can do it, but yeah.
Yeah.
So though trying to make those a little bit more entertaining through those transitional hooks have been game changing, honestly, for that kind of content because it's less cookie cutter, it's less in your face. We want your money,
Totally.
so
Yeah, ads are not going to work. Content works. It's like the old line that TikTok threw out back in the day. It was like, don't create ads, create TikToks.
yeah,
For whatever it was
yeah.
worth.
And I mean, I hate doing them. I hate that we have to do the sales ones. Um, and that's why I try to make it fun because it's also fun for me. Because I hate having to do them. Because sometimes they don't perform as well because they're not as fun. So
Right.
yeah, that's the bottom line. I try to make them fun so that people are engaged in it, and yeah, and it works out.
Yeah, no, it's a good interesting insight into like how you guys try to make the best of some of the marketing messages you put out there. So I
Mhm.
appreciate that for sure. All right, Paige, it's time for a food question. Coming out of the wire here with Paige Price of the Washington Spirit. Tell me if I come out there, we hang out in the greater DC area, what is the best meal and where do we get it?
I don't go out to eat as much as I should, but one of my favorite restaurants in DC, a little bit more upscale, is Zaytinya. It's a Greek Mediterranean vibe. Um, so good. I mean, everything. My cousin, when I lived here, she worked there, and she was able to give us, I say me, my aunt, my uncle, when we were visiting her, she was able to introduce us to a lot of different things on the menu, and everything was good. Everything was good. And some things that I'd never had before. And I'm like, this is phenomenal, you know? Like I don't really like hummus, but I like their hummus.
Yeah.
So, and I'm like, I love every single thing about Zaytinya. But also I think just it's just a DC thing. You have to have something from a carryout. And there are many different carryouts. The one that I usually order from is Yums, and I think mine is the original or it's number two. I'm not exactly sure. I think it's the one on 14th Street Northwest. That's the Yums that I usually order from. Um, yeah, you can get, you know, whatever you want. If you want wings, they have wings and fries. You can do that. Egg rolls. You want Chinese food, they got that too. You have to do it. Yeah,
I
I
like it.
think that's
I,
it. And then
both
of course
both sound,
Ben's chili bowl.
what's that?
Ben's chili bowl.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice variety. I can hang out with you. I think we can get some good food. That sounds good. All right, number nine for you, Paige. I'm gonna not let you pick any like make you pick favorites or anything. Just tell me the non-NWSL teams. So we're not gonna have you pick any rivals or whatnot. And non-DC area team. We don't want you to have to pick between neighbors. The non-NWSL and non-DC area sports team whose content has caught your eye and why.
Ooh, the Los Angeles Chargers.
Hell yeah.
Phenomenal work. Phenomenal work. I I've taken so many things from the Chargers and done it. That piece of candy thing came from a lot of NFL teams.
Mhm,
Yeah. Love the Chargers. Who else? The Charlotte FC has some good stuff as well.
mhm.
Um, the Lakers, there's a segment that they have where they do like learning languages with either Rui Hachimura or
Yeah,
Luka Doncic. I
yeah,
love that because we have so many international stars. It's something that I want to do that I'm pushing
great.
for. If any of my peers see this, any of my colleagues see this, I really want to do this. So I hope we have the opportunity to do it because I feel like, learning Italian or even learning Spanish. Um, you know, we had a Japanese player on the roster, and that's who I really wanted to do it with, and she has since left the club. But yeah, I love the Chargers content. I'm not a Chargers fan, but I'm a fan of their content. Mhm.
Definitely a good shout out there. Shout out to Jason
Also,
and
let me
Megan.
say, I like the Eagles content too.
Yeah, they get mentioned a lot. That's also a very good one. The last one for your page. It's a big next couple of years for soccer in the world, in North America in particular. We have the World Cup, Men's World Cup coming this year. The Women's World Cup is going to be in 2027. So tell me, like, what does this like the year of soccer mean for the NWSL? What do you anticipate? Like, and what, if anything, can MSL clubs or MLS clubs, NWSL clubs, and the Spirit like do to try to capitalize on the increased interest in soccer that we're gonna all going to be experiencing in North America in the summer?
Yeah, I absolutely love this question because I actually did my capstone project on international sporting events.
Perfect.
I focused on the Olympics, but I did read about, some instances with the World Cup as well. So to not think about it from too much of a a research standpoint, I think the upcoming Men's World Cup, there's a lot of things that I'm looking forward to seeing. Just, to be straightforward, ticket sales wise, I'm interested to see how that plays out, like attendance wise, with how, you know, we do things sporting event wise in the United States, and I'm interested to see that. But and just overall how it goes, based on the updates to infrastructure that people have had to do and all of those, logistical things. I'm
Right.
interested to see that. But from how we can increase the interest in the NWSL, and I think we, the Spirit, are in a difficult position because we don't have a game in DC. So
Right.
I think where we try to lean on is, the different nationalities that we have on our team,
Hmm.
and how do we, you know, build those relationships with the men's national teams of those nationalities. We have players on our we have three players on our well, we have multiple players on our team that represent the US, Canada, and Mexico. So how do we utilize those players to drive interest from that men's World Cup to us?
Yeah.
Uh, so that's kind of my thought process on it. And I think the Spirit, yeah, the NWSL is taking a break in all of June or July. I'll have to check the schedule, but um, yeah, it will be interesting to see what we come up with as a group and as a league, honestly, just to see how we're able to leverage that, for the sake of for the girlies that are in markets that have, games happening in their market. Super interested to see how they capitalize on it. I think the closest place to us is Philly. Um, so, Boston has the opportunity. Yeah, Boston Legacy FC has a very unique opportunity. Gotham has a unique
Yeah.
opportunity. The Dash, um, Angel City, you know. So it's very interesting. I think we will have to be a little bit more out of the box since we're not in a market that a game is being played. But um, yeah, I anticipate a lot of clubs, including us, finding some kind of way to capitalize off of
Right.
that. Plans, I don't know.
You have some
So
time.
far, we have some time, but yeah, I definitely think it's going to be interesting from a lot of things,
Yeah.
from a
No,
research standpoint.
it'll be
Yeah.
super super fun to watch to see what plays out, whether it's watch parties and fan fests, or can you have NWSL players who are giving breaking down some plays or some
Yeah.
playful rivalries with some of the other countries among your team. Like it can be a lot of fun for sure, and I'll be keeping an eye on everything because if nothing else, the algorithms will be going crazy to show you anything soccer. It's going to be all soccer feeds, so
All soccer, and
opportunity to get in there.
as a fan, I am excited to see who's going to win. I feel like it could be England's year.
It's coming home.
I know, but we shall see.
Heck yeah. No, it's gonna be an exciting time for sure for the sport overall in the States. And
Mhm.
we just had a big moment for the sport overall in the States with Trinity Rodman signing. So it's another time for 2026 to just be an awesome time for soccer in the US.
Yeah.
Paige, you nailed your set piece. You scored multiple times. I scored a brace and then some. Now it's your chance to take over the podcast and tell us your all-star follow. It can be a TikTok follow, an Instagram follow, a newsletter, a podcast, or whatever it is. Tell us who they are and why they're worth following.
I think from like a networking standpoint, she's so sporty and I can spell that out. Um, they're a good place for women in sports, specifically, Black women in sports that are aiming to meet new people that work in the industry and things of that nature. So I think giving them a follow is good. And then
Yeah.
also, I want to shout out the amazing group of people that I work with. Brianna Burato, her creator name on Instagram is visually Brianna.
Mhm.
Um,
Link them up.
yeah, we both want to try to do more of publishing our, the things that we're doing so that not only we're doing our jobs, but we're also making a name for ourselves outside of our jobs as well. And I think that goes a long way because, Hannah Peary with the Rockets, she's been able to create you know, an amazing platform for herself. And, she's one of the people that I follow that I've seen, she does my job, and or we do the same job, but she has this amazing platform where she's able to um, kind of teach people how to do things and what she does on a daily basis. And I think that is so cool. And I think that me and Bree have the opportunity to do that. And then also, Bree is so I don't even know what word I would use, but I mean, she's so creative and she has so many great ideas on photo sets. And she never wants to have a photo set be on like some kind of blank, boring white canvas. She wants
Yeah.
it to be more. And I think that goes a long way. The Trinity shoot that we almost had it on a white backdrop. But Brie was like, no, I don't want to do that. And we all agreed with her. We don't want to do that. And so we were able to put something together and with her vision, with the floating jerseys. And
Yeah.
um, yeah, it she makes things better. Diana Hernandez, she's our social media manager who also has a great understanding of photo and graphic design. She's also Hispanic. She has Mexican heritage, and um, I think from that standpoint, I think she can bring a lot of awareness to that, and really kind of especially in the times that we're in, show what you know you can do, not just as a woman, but um, as a woman who loves soccer. With that, she's extremely vocal about representing her heritage and all Hispanic heritage. And for our Hispanic Heritage Month, a lot of that look and feel, that design, that all came from her, and she did such a great job of it. She does a great job of ideating and creating look and feels, not just for Hispanic Heritage Month, but also, you know, what our design flow is going to be like for the entire season, what it's going to be like for Pride, what it's going to be like for Juneteenth. What are we doing? And of course, like, I'm helping her with that, but with her expertise and her knowledge and her creative way of thinking, um, she does a really good job of that. And then Nyara Collins, our videographer, we're hiring another videographer right now. But Nyara, she does such a great job with long form video. And like I said, they are videographers. Nyara, she loves to do documentary style videos. And we hope to get her into doing more of that this season, so that her talents can really shine through. And everything that she's done long form wise has done really great. There's a series that she started last season called Beyond the Pitch. It's on YouTube on our channels if you guys ever have the opportunity to go take a look. But a lot of those series are her and her vision for it, and they do a great job. I mean, there are so many people that I can refer, and I forgot her last name, but Bianca, she is social and digital for the Houston Dash. We recently connected. I think she's also an NBA LCC, so that's really cool. I think that's actually how we connected. I think the NBA correspondent team, they sent all of our socials in a chat, and we're getting follows left and right. And I
Yeah.
think that's how we initially got acquainted. And we don't talk a lot, but I would love to have the opportunity to talk to her and pick her brain and you know see what different things that we have going on and what they have going on and how our content
Totally.
aligns, how it differs, all the things, just to be able to pick her brain. And so, yeah, those are just a couple people that I recommend you follow.
Lots of
Of
good
course,
scouting.
also follow the Washington Spirit.
Right. No, that's what I was going to end with. Where we find the Spirit at Wash Spirit or Washington Spirit, and how about yourself, Paige? Where can we find you?
Oh, you can find me on Instagram. I'm on TikTok. My handles are just my name. You add an E at the end, and then Price.
We will look it up.
There's an underscore too.
We'll make sure to link it up in the show notes and the transcript as well. But so such good stuff here. I really appreciate spending time with you and learning from you and hearing about all the things you have going on with the Spirit and what goes into all the great work you guys do. It's just been a pleasure being able to connect with you today, Paige, and thanks for coming on the podcast.
Thanks so much for having me. This was so much fun. This is the first podcast I've been on, so I was really excited about this and honored to get the opportunity. So thank you as well.
Thanks so much again to Paige Price, social media creator for the Washington Spirit. Just a tremendous opportunity to be able to connect with her and learn from her. She was delightful to be able to speak with, as you could tell on the podcast. She's really understands what she does, why she does it, why it matters, and just does a great job, connecting with the Spirit, bringing out player stories, and connecting with fans at a greater level. And we'll definitely continue to keep an eye on her and the Spirit and the rest of the clubs in the NWSL for this season and beyond. But that'll do it for this episode of the Digital and Social Media Sports Podcast. Thanks again for listening or watching. As always, I'm your host, Neil Horowitz. You can find me on Twitter, NJ287, also on LinkedIn, where I post more content. The podcast is available across podcast platforms. You can also find more content in every episode at dsmsports.net. Until next time, this is Neil Horowitz signing off for the Digital and Social Media Sports Podcast.